has 1-inch height advantage. The tap goes to Miami. Pulling it in is Bill Brown just in front court. Hands it over to Jim Hamilton, wheeling one down the right side to Thomas. Back it goes to Hamilton, back to Thomas on the side. Gets it to Embry in the pivot. Moves to the 3-second zone. A hook. It's no good. Rebounding Johnny Cox of Kentucky. Up to Adrian Smith, who moves it into front court at the top rim of the circle. Whips right side to Cox. Jump shot, no good, way over the rim. Embry rebounds for Miami. Beck knocks it down, but Embry recovers. Well, each team's had a run at the basket and a good shot. So far, no scoring. Notre Dame beat Indiana by 7 points. Jump shot from the right side for Miami is no good by John Powell. Tapped by Embry twice and good. John Powell puts Miami in front 2-0 on a tap in. Adrian Smith up into front court now for Kentucky. Gives to Hatton. Hatton moves to the right, gives to Krigler. Outside to Adrian Smith, moving to the right at the baseline. Pulls up and shoots no good, but he's fouled on the play. Drawing the personal foul is Jim Thomas of Miami. First foul in the ball game sends Adrian Smith up for 2 shots. So the 6-foot Kentucky guard can tie up this 2-0 ball game. After 1 minute, here's the first shot good. Smith's second shot, good. So the score stands 2-2. 6-foot John Powell of Miami. Whips into the pivot to Embry. Fakes to Powell, takes a hook. It's good. Wayne Embry with his second field goal sends Miami in front 4-2. Here's Cox on the left side, passing deep to Hatton. Moves down to the free throw line, gives to Krigler. A 25-footer. Good. John Krigler goes from the outside for Kentucky's first field goal, and it's tied up 4-4 as twice Kentucky has caught the Redskins. On the left side to Thomas. He fakes a shot, drives on Krigler. Double teamed, he shoots anyway and misses. Cox knocks down the rebound and takes it for Kentucky. Triggers a 3-2 fast break to Hatton. He takes a 20-footer, good. Vernon Hatton hits from 20 feet. 3 Wildcats have scored. And for the first time, Kentucky leads at 6-4. Up into front court now, John Powell. Down the right side to Bill Brown. Looks at Embry in the pivots. Cox drops off. The pass goes into Embry. Moves out. Jump shot good. So Embry picks up 3 field goals. Ties the game 6-6. Embry, a big boy. A lot of weight. Krigler from 20 feet. Shoots short and good. Ball just clearing the front of the rim for Krigler's second field goal. Kentucky 8, Miami 6. Up into front court. Here's a break for the basket for Jim Hamilton and a foul. Walking call. The official indicating that Hamilton carried the ball. Palming it, as some people call it. Vernon Hatton in front court for Kentucky. Feeds Cox on the left side. Jump shot. No good. Goes out of bounds to Miami. Went over the backboard. Kentucky 8, Miami 6 after 2.5 minutes. Notre Dame beat Indiana the first game, 94-87. Here's a jump shot by Powell. Short. Rebounding Cox of Kentucky. Whips to Hatton for a 2-2 break. Hatton to the right, pulls up, has the ball knocked away. And taken by Miami's Jim Hamilton up to Powell. Up into front court, breaks against Adrian Smith, pulls up, passes outside to Bill Brown. Over to Jim Hamilton. Down the left side to Jim Thomas. Back to Hamilton in the left corner. Jump shot, no good, to Cox of Kentucky. Whips to Adrian Smith. The Cats run 4-on-2. Smith goes left side and misses with a foul. Blocking on Miami's Jim Thomas. That's the second foul on Thomas. After 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Adrian Smith, 2 for 2, goes to the Kentucky line. Shooting 1 this trip. The Cats lead 8-6. Krigler and Hatton back up in safety. Smith shot good. Kentucky 9, Miami 6. Longest lead of the game for either team. Here's Jim Hamilton, 19-year-old sophomore out there at guard for Miami in front court. Bounce pass goes over to Powell. High one to Embry on the pivot. Cox took it away from him, dropping off the weak side forward. Moves on up in the front court for Kentucky down the left side. Gives to Odie Smith. Shot good out of the left corner. Adrian Smith's first field goal. 5th point makes it Kentucky 11, Miami 6. Kentucky breaking a 6-6 tie with a run of 5 points as number 5, Hamilton, fires a high one to Embry. He taps it in beautifully. That looked like a shot by Hamilton, but it was a pass to come down in front of the basket to Embry, who picked up his 4th field goal to make it an 11-8 ball game. Here's Smith to Cox, 20-foot jump shot. Good. Johnny Cox is the fourth Wildcat to score. Kentucky 13, Miami 8. In the front court now, John Powell of Miami cuts down the middle. Cox takes it away from him. Kentucky runs 3-2. Cox at the free throw line. Jump shot no good. Tapped up by Krigler twice, 3 times. Cox no good. Cox rebounds, lays it in good. Goal counts and a foul on Miami. Bill Brown of Miami drawing his first personal foul. Field goal by Johnny Cox is his second one. He'll take a free throw with a 15-8 lead on the boards. 4 minutes and 9 seconds have been played. Cox stands pounding the ball into the floor. Two-handed shooter. He flips it up. It's good. Kentucky doubles the score. It's 16-8 as the Cats have outscored Miami 10-2 since breaking a 6-all tie. And timeout, Miami. In our first game tonight, Notre Dame went ahead of Indiana 48-39 and 48-37 at halftime and won the ball game 94-87 over the Hoosiers. Well, the noise that greets the timeout by Miami, the first in the ball game, indicates the wealth of Kentucky fans here tonight. The scoring, Adrian Smith has picked up 5 points. Hatton 2, Cox 5, Krigler 4. For Miami, Wayne Embry has all 8 on 4 field goals. Personal fouls, just 3 in the ball game, all against Miami. Jim Thomas 2 and Brown 1. Miami's ball at midcourt as we go back to play. 6-foot John Powell is out of bounds. Neither Coach Ruppersrider make a change in the lineup. Powell passing to Hamilton, who moves over the 10-second line. Starts right, cuts left, gives. Here's a jump shot by Thomas, good. Right off the free throw line. Jim Thomas sacks his first field goal up. So the score is 16-10 in favor of Kentucky. Adrian Smith in front court hits Krigler on the right side. 20-foot one-handers in and out. Miami rebounds as it's pulled in by Jim Thomas. Over it goes to Powell, who moves in front court to the top of the circle. Breaks right on Smith and passes over to the left side to Hamilton. Hamilton fakes Hatton, goes by him, bounces one over to the right. Here's a one-handed shot over the rim, no good by Brown. Taken off by Adrian Smith of Kentucky. In front court to Cox on the left side. Fakes a shot, hooks to Hatton. Free throw line, one-hander is no good, but Embry fouled him. Wayne Embry very lightly tapping Hatton across the arms as he went by, trying to block the shot. 2 shots to Vernon Hatton. There are now 4 personal fouls on the Redskins. Dartmouth and Notre Dame have already won NCAA games tonight. Hatton hits the first free throw. 15 minutes and 8 seconds here in the first half. Hatton, a two-handed shooter, misses the second one, has it tapped back by Cox, and he shoots, no good. Taken off by Miami. As it is pulled into the left side by Bill Brown. Knocked away by Cox. Miami keeps possession. We've played 5 minutes. Kentucky 17, Miami 10. 5'8" Jim Hamilton in front court for the Redskins. Down the right side with a high pass to Embry. Fakes left, comes right with a hook. No good and short. Cox goes for it, and it's tapped in off his hands by Bill Brown of Miami. First field goal by Brown. 17-12. Kentucky with a 5-point edge after 5.5 minutes of play. Left side to Cox. Fakes the jump shot. Passes in the pivot to back to Cox. 15-foot jump shot, way short. Rebounding is Miami's John Powell out in front of the basket. Moves up over the center stripe. Passes right side to Hamilton. Breaks out to the free throw line. Gives over, and here's Powell down the right. Shot, no good, rolls off. Tapped up again and in by Bill Brown. Second field goal for Brown. 17-14, and the Redskins move back within 3 points. Clark County beat Winchester tonight in the 16th Regional at Moorhead. Cox from the left side hits for Kentucky. Johnny Cox's third field goal puts him into the scoring lead for the Wildcats with 7 points. Clark County 68, Winchester 35, 68-35. Clark County over Winchester tonight. Set shot from the outside, Thomas, no good. Krigler of Kentucky rebounds. Cats run 3-3. Hatton pulls up out deep. Doesn't like the odds. Gives to Cox. 20-foot one-hand jump shot. No good. Off for the rim. Miami's got the rebound. John Powell gives over to Jim Hamilton in front court at the free throw line. Takes the shot over Hatton, and it's good. Jim Hamilton's first field goal. The score, Kentucky 19, Miami 16. Hatton and Smith talk it over, moving up the back court now. Hatton right side to Krigler, out to Smith, dropped the ball, but Krigler picked it up for him and feeds it back over to Cox. Looks at Hatton in the left corner, passes back out to Smith. Each club playing man-to-man. Down the right to Krigler, back to Smith, into Hatton, breaking to the right. He's fouled. Miami's John Powell bumping into Hatton. First foul against him. There are now 5 on the Redskins, however. Vernon Hatton, who's hit one and missed one, is on the free throw line for a single shot. 13 minutes, 9 seconds here in the first half. Notre Dame beat Indiana in the first game, 94-87. Here's Hatton, second shot, good. Archekis, first shot, only one. Kentucky leads 20-16. Cats have 7 field goals. Miami has 8. Up in the front court now, Powell of Miami looks at Embry in the pivot, who points to the right side. It goes down there to Brown. Back outside to Powell, a weave, a break to the right, into the pivot to Embry. Whistle at the baseline. Pushing foul on Ed Beck of Kentucky. Defensive pushing by Beck in the pivot. That is the first foul against Kentucky. And 6'8" Wayne Embry goes to the free throw line. One shot. 12 minutes, 51 seconds here in the first half. Free throw, good. Cuts the Kentucky lead to 3 points. The Cats have been out by 7. Vernon Hatton in front court. Deep to the left, hands to Smith, coming to the left. On the side to Cox, out to Hatton. Fakes a shot, moves left, 20-foot jump shot, good. Vernon Hatton's second field goal puts Kentucky in front, 22-17. Back in front court, 6-foot John Powell of Miami. Flips left side on a break for the basket by Jim Thomas. He walked with it against defensive pressure by Adrian Smith, who feeds it into Hatton, moving in front court. Back to Smith. Sets, moves off to the right, 20-foot jump shot, no good. Cox taps, no good. Hatton rebounds, shoots, no good, out of bounds. Had Cox caught the ball, it was a wide open rebound attempt. 22-17, Kentucky leads as Miami goes back to the attack. Hamilton in front court for the Tribe, breaks out to the free throw line, flips to Powell, quick jump shot, no good, rolled off. Embry taps, no good, on the floor. Cox of Kentucky picks it up, puts to Krigler, 2-2 break. Krigler down the right, turns his back, gives to Cox, the jump shot, in and out. Embry rebounds for Miami. Over to 6'6" Bill Brown. Miami has height advantage on the baseline. 2 inches in Bill Brown, 1 inch in Embry. Down the left side to Thomas, 20-foot set shot, no good. Tapped by Embry, no good. Rebounds, blocked beautifully, but wait a minute, body contact by John Krigler of Kentucky. First foul on Krigler and the second on Kentucky. Embry of Miami will take at least 1 free throw. No signal yet from the officials, as here's the first substitute of the game, Eddie Wingard. Wingard coming in to replace Bill Brown. He is also 6'6", weighs 185, 20-year-old junior from Elyria, Ohio, Wingard. 2 shots to Embry. First one, no good. Fouled in the act of shooting. Embry will take a second one. 11 minutes, 36 seconds to go. One of the officials takes a towel from the Miami bench to clean up a wet spot in the vicinity of the Miami free throw line, which is off to our right here in the Coliseum. Second shot, short. Miami rebounds. Jump shot by Thomas, no good. Taken off by Hatton of Kentucky. He starts a 4-4 break, doesn't like the odds, pulls up left side, passes deep to Beck, and a 20-footer, good. All 5 Wildcats have scored for another 7-point lead, 24-17. Jim Hamilton in front court feeds Embry on the pivot, breaks for the basket, can't get in there, comes back with a hook, no good. Slapped up by Embry, good on the rebound with his 5th field goal. 24-19 as Kentucky's lead is trimmed back to 5. 9 minutes gone, 11 to go in this first half. Back in the pivot, moves left, gives to Krigler, 20-foot jump shot, good. Krigler hitting from the top rim of the circle for his 3rd field goal to match Cox in that department and make it 26-19 for the Cats. Down the right side is Powell. High one to Embry, knocked away by Beck with a foul on the play against Embry of Miami. They had him double teamed, and that's 2 on Embry, 2 on Thomas, 1 on Powell, and 1 on Brown, which means 6 against Miami. 10 minutes, 44 seconds here in the first half. Notre Dame beat Indiana in the first game by 7 points. One shot to hit Beck as Red Mihalik came up accidentally with 2 fingers there to indicate number of free throws. Beck shoots one. He's a two-handed shooter. Shot good. So for the first time tonight, Kentucky has an 8-point bulge, 27-19. Up in the front court, here's a quick break by Hamilton down the middle, wide open. He walked with it. Nullified, a wide open trip shot. Smith out of bounds, passing to Hatton. Back in front court, down the right side to Krigler, back to Hatton. Cox comes out, gets the pass, wide open, top of the circle, shot good. Johnny Cox has 4 field goals. Kentucky leads 29-19. 10-point edge for the Big Blue. Into the pivot to Embry. Hooks over back to the left, no good. Rebound down on the floor, taken by Miami as it's pulled in by Powell, thrown over the head. Beck knocked it out of bounds. Miami gets it. 10 minutes here in the first half. Out of bounds Wingard to put it in play. Gives left side into the corner to Thomas. Outside to Powell. Breaks for the basket and walks with it. He walked with it in making his fake. So Adrian Smith of Kentucky passes into Vernon Hatton. And the 6'3.5" guard moves in front court. Breaks left side and comes back. Of Kentucky's 12-man squad, 9 are seniors. Cox, the only junior in the starting lineup, moves outside with a pass to Smith. Back over to Hatton, down the left side to Cox, back to Hatton. Smith goes through. Hatton hits Krigler from 20 feet to the left, no good. Beck taps, no good. Krigler taps, Beck slaps out to Hatton. Hatton down the right side to Cox. 20-foot jump shot over the rim. Krigler's got it good. That's 4 field goals for Krigler to match Cox in that department, and Kentucky leads 31-19. Timeout, Miami. Second timeout for Miami. And they're bringing Bill Brown, the 6'6" starting forward, back into the lineup. Well, here's the scoring in this ball game so far. The top man for Kentucky is Johnny Cox with 9 points, 4 field goals and a free throw. John Krigler close behind with 8 points on 4 field goals. Next is Vernon Hatton with 6. Adrian Smith has 5, and Ed Beck has 3. Miami, of course, is paced by 6'8" Wayne Embry, who has 12 points, 5 field goals. Bill Brown has 4 points, Jim Thomas 2, and Jim Hamilton 2. Kentucky so far has hit 12 field goals, and Miami has hit 9. The Cats' early lead in the ball game was built on free throw shooting. So far on free throws, Kentucky has hit 7 out of 8, and Miami has hit only 2 out of 4. There are 6 personals against Miami. Embry and Thomas have 2. Brown and Powell 1 each. For Kentucky, Beck and Krigler divide the 2. So we're back with our original starting 5 for each team. Coach Adolph Rupp has not broken his, but Coach Dick Schreider did. And now we're back to play. In front court, John Powell. Over to the left side to Brown. Jump shot short and off the rim to Hatton of Kentucky. He gets the Cats running. 4-4. Down the left to Cox. Looks at the rim of the basket, passes out to Beck. He fakes, breaks on Embry, gives to Krigler at the right side. He breaks to the baseline, outside to Beck. Off the pivot, in the pivot to Cox with a whistle at the baseline. A whistle, a pushing foul on Miami. Drawing the foul is Bill Brown, and he has 2. So Miami plays with Thomas, Brown, and Embry, the baseline trio, each holding 2 personals. The bonus rule goes into effect as Johnny Cox goes to the Kentucky line for 1 shot. 8 minutes, 46 seconds here in the first half. Kentucky leads by 12 points. Smith and Hatton in safety as Cox, a 2-hand shooter, hits. And will take the first bonus shot of the game. He's a 6'4" junior from Hazard. Kentucky has 2 juniors and a sophomore on its 7-man bench. The only 4 that will be back next year. 3 that will be back. Here's the shot, good again by Cox. So Kentucky moves on in front 33-19. Notre Dame won the first game 94-87 over Indiana. Up in front court, John Powell, right side jump shot. No good. Rolled off and Embry tapped it in. Wait a minute. No, they call goaltending on Embry. In other words, he hit the ball above the rim of the basket. That ball was laying on the rim of the basket, and Embry knocked it in. Wait a minute, a hat's been thrown out on the floor. Well, one of the Miami fans who threw the hat, or maybe not a Miami fan, we shouldn't say that, perhaps. Some fan who does not understand the new rules this year that you cannot go above the ring of the basket didn't realize the call against Embry. Here's a shot by Hatton, no good, and rebounded by Embry of Miami. Jim Hamilton in front court for Miami. Breaks right down the middle. Has it lost, but picked up on the left side by Powell, and the foul is called against Kentucky. Krigler of Kentucky, his second foul. 8 minutes and 14 seconds here in the first half. Jim Thomas, one shot coming, goes to the Miami free throw line. He shoots good. So the score is Kentucky 33, Miami 20. Smith to Cox on the left side for Kentucky. Takes it to the corner. Turns. No pressure put on him. He gives him the pivot to back to Smith. Left side, 10-footer, no good. Miami rebounds as it's taken off by Powell. Feeds Hamilton, 1-1 against Hatton. He turns and gives off over to Powell, who drives, flips off on the left side, and picking it up, Thomas shoots short to the left and back rebounds for Kentucky. Passes out to Adrian Smith. Up to Cox in front court, wide open from 10 feet. He shoots no good. Knocked out of bounds. It goes to Miami. Back in front court, Jim Hamilton quickly hooks left side. Here's a jump shot by Thomas. No good. Beck slaps out to Hatton. Hatton goes down on a 3-1 fast break. Over to Smith. Wide open. He laid it in good. He's fouled on the play. Drawing the foul is Miami's 6'6" forward, Bill Brown. His third personal, and apparently he'll come out as Eddie Wingard races up to come in. 7:29 in this first half. Bill Brown, for the second time, leaves the Miami lineup. Adrian Smith on the Kentucky line, shooting one. His field goal, incidentally, was his second one. Kentucky has a 15-point lead. Smith's free throw, good. Kentucky 36, Miami 20. Here's John Powell, back in front court for the Redskins. Gives over left side to Thomas. Back to Powell, a 20-footer, good. Goal counts, foul under the basket, pushing. Ed Beck of Kentucky drawing his second foul, and Jim Thomas gets his second field goal. The foul was against Embry in rebounding position fight. That's 4 fouls on Kentucky. Beck and Krigler divide them. Embry will take one. The shot, good. So Miami gets a 3-point trip out of it. 36-23, Kentucky's lead. Here's Krigler breaking for the basket, hooking it back, no good. Picked up by Wingard of Miami. Flips out to Powell, to Hamilton on the fast break to the free throw line. Jump shot, good. So Hamilton with his second field goal, and Miami has picked up 5 quick points with 7 minutes in the first half and trimmed a 16-point Kentucky lead to 11. Here's Hatton over to Cox at the top of the circle with a jump shot, no good. Rebounding Embry, fouled by Beck. Beck slapping for the ball, hit Embry across the back of the neck for his third personal. Well, in the NAIA tournament out at Kansas City tonight, defending champ Tennessee State has beaten Texas Southern. Tennessee State 110, Texas Southern 85. Embry's free throw of Miami is good. Gives the Redskins a run of 6 points on the catch. Krigler breaking. Has the ball knocked away and out of bounds. Off his knee to Miami. Coach Adolph Rupp has Don Mills, sophomore center, up talking to him, and apparently is going to bring Beck out of the lineup. Miami's making its first run on the Wildcats in this ball game. Set shot, Thomas, short. Rebounding Johnny Cox of Kentucky. Hands over to Adrian Smith. Kentucky leads 36-26. Hatton down the left side to Krigler, back to Hatton. Outside to Cox. Wingard picks him up and charges into Beck, who was setting a screen. Foul on Wingard is his first one. Here's Jim Brown coming back in the Miami lineup. Don Mills, who had started into the Kentucky lineup, is being held up because the man he's replacing, Ed Beck's on the free throw line. For the first time, Jim Thomas comes out of the Miami lineup. Beck will shoot one. Bonus rule applies. 6 minutes, 17 seconds in the first half. Here's Beck's two-handed free throw, good. Beck will take the bonus shot. Kentucky has an 11-point lead in Miami. Beck's bonus try way short, just caught the rim. Tap back to him by Krigler, over to Hatton. He takes a 25-footer, no good to the right. Krigler drops the rebound, races out to get it. Pitches to Beck in the pivot, back to Krigler. He charges in to Jim Hamilton and draws his third foul. So Krigler has 3, and Beck comes out of the ball game to make way for Kentucky's first substitution, Don Mills, 20-year-old sophomore from Berea, who's 6'7", weighs 190. Mills, the number 8 scorer with 47 points, a 2.7 average. Had his big night here against LSU when he scored 10. 6 minutes, 7 seconds to go in this first half. Jim Hamilton of Miami on the free throw line for the first time in the game. Shoots one. Shot. Good. Bonus rule now is in effect against each team. Kentucky 37, Miami 27. Hatton in front court, right side to Krigler, out to Adrian Smith. 35-foot set. Off the rim, no good to Smith. And from 10 feet, a jump shot's no good. Comes off of the rim into the alley with a jump call. While we line up to jump, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. 1 minute, 30 seconds past 10 o'clock.
Wingard and Krigler jump, and the tap goes to Miami as it's taken in by Thomas, given to Hamilton, to Wingard. 20-foot jump shot, no good. Tapping up, in and out by Thomas. Cox rebounds, taken away and laid in by Bill Brown for his third field goal. So Miami moves within 8 points. 37-29 the score. Krigler on the right side out to Hatton. He moves down to the right corner. Jump shot, no good. Mills rebounds and lays it in. Beautiful rebound by 6'7" Don Mills, sophomore Kentucky center. 39-29. Cats lead by 10. In front court, Jim Hamilton. Down the right side in the corner to Brown. High one to Embry into the pivot. As he starts his move, a foul on Don Mills of Kentucky for pushing. That's the first foul on Mills. The 7th against Kentucky, so here's the bonus rule for the first time against the Wildcats. Embry, who's hit 4 out of 6. Shooting 1. 5 minutes, 8 seconds to play in the first half. Free throw good. So here's Miami's first bonus shot. Kentucky's had 2, missing 1. Embry's bonus shot, good. So Miami inches on up to within 8 points again, 39-31. Krigler gives in the right corner to Smith, out to Cox. 20-foot jump shot, good. So Cox with his 5th field goal matches Embry of Wayne, and Kentucky leads 41-31. In front court, John Powell of the Redskins, out deep to Hamilton. Whips right side to Wingard. Breaks into the 3-second zone, passes over to Powell. A fake and a walk, and it's out of bounds to Kentucky. Powell, in making his fake, changes pivot feet. Up in the front court, Krigler for Kentucky on a pass from Hatton. Feeds back to the Kentucky co-captain deep. Hatton brings Smith out to his left to set it up with a pass to Krigler on the right. Back to Smith, breaking right. Gets in on Hamilton, wide open, and missed it. Tapped up twice by Mills, no good, and taken off by Powell for Miami. Up in the front court, passing deep to Hamilton. Hamilton sets, Hatton backs away, and he passes in the corner to Brown. Set shot, no good. Krigler rebounds for Kentucky, gives to Odie Smith. It's 2-on-1 against the little guy Hamilton. Smith all the way is fouled. Jim Hamilton draws his first foul of the game. 4 minutes and 8 seconds to go. Adrian Smith, 4 for 4, is on the Kentucky free throw line, shooting 2. Into the Miami lineup is Jim Thomas. Coming out is Bill Brown. This is the 3rd time Bill Brown has come out. Notre Dame beat Indiana in the first game by 7 points. Adrian Smith of Kentucky misses the first free throw. Shot it right into the front of the rim. Kentucky leads Miami 10 points, 41-31. Had a 16-point lead at 36-20, and then the Redskins got hot. So Odie, as he's known to his teammates, pumps up the second one good to make it 42-31 for Kentucky. Hamilton and Powell move it up the backcourt with 6-foot John Powell over the center stripe. Down the left side to Thomas. Back to Powell. One-hander from 20 feet. No good. On the bounce, Krigler rebounds for Kentucky. Moves it up over the center stripe. Goes to the free throw line. Flips right corner to Hatton. The shot, good. 3rd field goal for Vernon Hatton. Kentucky 44, Miami 31. Jim Hamilton in front court for the Tribe again. Fakes to the pivot, gives to Powell. He moves to the right, quickly pulls up, gives to Wingard deep to his right, and back to Powell, who sets it up. Powell back down the right, gets a screen from Wingard. The jump shot, short. Rebounding, Krigler of Kentucky. Passes up to Odie Smith, who moves in front court. Down the right side to Krigler, fakes a break for the basket, gives out deep to Smith, into the pivot to Mills, a hook, good. Don Mills with his second field goal makes it Kentucky 46-31. Here's a break for the basket by Hamilton, cut off. He passes one out to Powell to Embry at the free throw line. Embry out to Hamilton now, deep, breaks left, falls away from Smith and passes to Powell. Powell back over to Hamilton. Deep to the left and on the side. Now it goes to Thomas. Whistle from the outside. Walking called against Jim Thomas, the 6'3" Miami forward. Smith into Vernon Hatton, who looks at the clock. 2:45 still showing for this first half. Up into front court. Handed over to Krigler. Krigler looks at the situation, starts to shoot, then gives out to Smith to Hatton. Calls his play. Moves to the left side. Nothing works. He gives back to Smith. Down the right to Krigler. Outside to Hatton. Hatton yells something to get it set up. Moves right off of a screen. A 25-footer's good, but it's nullified by a foul on Krigler for picking, and Krigler has 4 personal fouls. So into the Miami lineup for the first time is Larry Christ, C-R-I-S-T, 19-year-old junior from Zanesville. He's 5'8", weighs 155. And Phil Johnson checks in for John Krigler in the Kentucky lineup, a 21-year-old junior from here in Lexington. Johnson, 6'6", weighs 220, has 73 points, an average of 3.6. The number 7 score for the Cats. So John Powell, the man who is being substituted for, keeps Larry Christ at the scorer's table. 2 minutes, 23 seconds in the first half. The shot, no good. Taken by Embry, jump shot, no good. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Comes rolling out of there on a 5-4 break. Gives to Hatton, and from 15 feet, no good. Off to the right, Powell of Miami pulls it in near the corner. Breaks away from Hatton as Kentucky holds a 15-point lead. Wingard deep to the right, passes to Powell, whips to Embry, who's fouled by Don Mills from the rear. Don Mills draws his second foul. Now we have Larry Christ into the Miami lineup. Powell leaves. One shot to Embry. Embry's hit 6 out of 8. Shoots 1, shot good, gets the bonus try. 2 minutes, 4 seconds to go. Dartmouth and Notre Dame have already won NCAA games tonight. The bonus shot good by Embry to cut Kentucky's lead to 13 points. Cincinnati is leading Kansas State 1 point at the half on last report from Lawrence. Here's a break by Adrian Smith of Kentucky all the way and got it. A stumbling fall at the basket as he fired it with both hands for his 3rd field goal. Kentucky's in front again by 15 points. We want to correct the Lafayette-Harrodsburg score in a minute. Jump shot no good by Hamilton. The rebound taken by Thomas. Jump shot short, knocked out of bounds by Miami's Jim Hamilton, and Hatton puts it in play quickly to Smith. Driving in front court to the top of the circle. A jump shot is short and to the right. Rebounded by Wingard. Fired up in front court now. Larry Christ and Powell on a fast break and missing the wide open crip shot, Jim Hamilton. Over to Adrian Smith, who moves up into front court, passes to Hatton. Hatton down the left side to Johnson, who's playing at a forward with Mills in the pivot over to Cox. Breaks right on Wingard. Fall-away jumper is short. Mills taps with Embry, no good. And Embry gets the rebound for Miami. Up in front court to Thomas, who missed it. By missing it, we mean he was dribbling, missed it with one hand as he looked up. Much like a golfer looking up on a chip shot. Hitting on top of the ball is what he did with the dribble, and so it's walking as he carried it to a step and a half. Hatton in front court for Kentucky to Johnson on the right, out to Smith. Here's a whistle at the baseline, a foul on Kentucky. It's on Phil Johnson of Kentucky. An offensive foul on Johnson with 45 seconds to go. Miami's free throw shooting again. They trail by 15 points. Jim Hamilton, 1 for 1, tries one. Hamilton shoots, no good. Embry rebounds. Moves right, hook, no good. Wingard rebounds, no good. Another foul on Kentucky. Another one on Johnson, his 2nd straight. This time it's Wingard shooting for the first time at the free throw line. Miami has got 4 men in the scoring. All the starters except John Powell. Wingard and Chris, 2 substitutes, not scoring. Wingard shoots 2, first one good, so he's the 5th man in the scoring column. Kentucky has a 14-point lead with 39 seconds to play in the first half. Notre Dame beat Indiana in the first game 94-87. Wingard's 2nd shot good, 48-35. Kentucky leads as we move now into the last 35 seconds of play. Vernon Hatton talking with Smith, moving up in front court, molested a little by Hamilton. They increase the tempo. Now Smith moves to the right, stays deep. Kentucky seems to be obvious with its play for one last shot. Cox standing idly by on the right side, hands on his hips. Smith moving to the right, staying deep. 18 seconds on the clock. The Cats want to get to the dressing room at least with 13 points. Here's Odie Smith out deep, 12 to go to Mills, back to Smith, right side to Cox. He takes it with 8 to go and misses. Hatton rebounds, lays it up, no good. Tapped in by Phil Johnson. Phil Johnson with his first field goal of the ball game, and the first half ends as Hatton laid down on the baseline and prevented Christ from getting it in play. So Kentucky has a 15-point advantage at halftime with a total of 50 points. Kentucky 50, Miami 35 is the score at halftime. Beck and Embry will jump, giving Miami 1-inch advantage. They got the opening tip. Here's the tap to Kentucky. Don Mills got it. Over to Vernon Hatton, who moves in front court. High pivot pass to Beck. Fakes to Hatton going by. Pulls up from 15 feet and shoots short. Outside rebound to Miami as it's taken in by John Powell on the bounce. Though Kentucky fails to score on the first trip, Powell pulls up at the Miami free throw line, gives over to Brown, takes a return pass, and Powell from 20 feet misses. Screams off to the right. The ball goes out of bounds and on a blind save. Thomas to Brown. Fine play. Out to Hamilton. Over to the left to Powell, breaks left side, hooks to Embry, wide open, he lays it up. No good, rolled out. Embry taps, no good, and Powell rebounds from 10 feet. It's good. So John Powell, who did not score a point in the first half, opens up scoring in the second half with a field goal, and it's 50-37. Vernon Hatton gets it in front court for Kentucky. Waves Mills off the right side, gives to Smith, who breaks down from 15 feet, misses. Miami rebounds, and Beck fouls. That's 4 fouls on Ed Beck. Only 2 Kentucky starters have committed fouls in this game, Beck and Krigler, and they've committed 8. We've played 58 seconds now as Beck draws his 4th one. Coach Adolph Rupp apparently is going to let Beck go with 4 personals, seeing how much he can get out of him. As Bill Brown of Miami makes his first appearance at the free throw line tonight, shooting 1. It's good. And Miami has outscored Kentucky 3-0 in the second half. Here's Cox in front court on the right side. Pulls up, whips to Mills into the pivot. A turnaround jump shot's good. Don Mills goes on the post and picks up field goal number 3. Kentucky leads 52-38. Here's Hamilton in front court, passing right side to Brown. Turnaround jump shot good. Tuckus on that. Thomas, his 3rd field goal. 52-40. Kentucky leads by 12 points. Miami's going to pick up in backcourt now. Hatton breaks in, flips off on the right side to Mills, pulls up from 5 feet. Ball knocked away, and Hamilton takes it for Miami and off to the left side of the basket. Hamilton, a left-handed guard, moves over the 10-second line for the Redskins. Kentucky unable to hit here in the first minute and a half of the second half. Here's Powell driving, hooking back behind him, though, to Brown. Over it goes to Hamilton. Drives to the left, gives to Powell. From 20 feet, Powell hits. So Powell hitting 2 quick field goals in the second half has cut the Kentucky lead back to 10 points. High pass comes in front court to Beck, back to Hatton. Hatton has twice used the high pass to Beck in front court to cut off the 2 Miami guards picking up. Hatton from 15 feet misses. Mills taps, Beck taps, no good. On the floor to Miami, picked up by Bill Brown. So Kentucky has cooled off, and the Redskins are on the march. Brown to Hamilton, in the right corner to Bill Brown again. The 6'6 forward looks at Embry, then passes back out to Powell by way of Hamilton. Powell from 25 feet misses this time. A shot short. Knocked down and taken by Thomas in the right corner to Embry, to the right on the baseline. A hook. No good. Mills and Cox fight for it of Kentucky, and Mills comes up with it. Passes over to Vernon Hatton. Looks back at the bench to see if there are any special instructions. In front court to Cox now. From 20 feet to the right, Cox misses. Miami's got the rebound again. Taken out by Bill Brown and fed to Embry. Kentucky continuing its assault from the outside, but not hitting now the second half. After 3 minutes, their 15-point lead has been trimmed to 10. Powell on the right side, another jump shot. This one's way short. Embry rebounds and hooks. It's good. No good, rolls off. Tapped up, no good by Thomas. Rebounding Don Mills of Kentucky. Out to Adrian Smith. Moves up into front court. Down the left side to Hatton. Hatton holding it out of play now to bring Cox out to where he wants him. And a jump shot off the screen. No good. Cox taps it beautifully outside to Smith. He was unable to handle it. Tapped it over the head of Powell. Hatton feeds to Beck in the pivot. Here's a 15-foot hook. Good. So Ed Beck hooks in his second field goal, putting the Cats in front 54-42. Miami leads 3-2 on second half field goals. Here's Hamilton in the pivot to Embry. Breaks for the basket on Beck and lays it in. That's Embry's 6th field goal, first one of the half, and Kentucky's lead is trimmed back to 10 points. Smith is fouled by Hamilton, picking him up in backcourt. So each team has drawn one personal foul in the second half after 3 minutes 54 seconds of play. Adrian Smith of Kentucky is lining up for one shot. Smith has hit 5 out of 6. Smith's shot's good. Kentucky 55, Miami 44. 5'8" Jim Hamilton moves over the midcourt stripe, staying deep to the right. Sends Brown off the side. Fakes to Embry on a high pivot. Gives over to Powell. Gives to Embry. Moves left. Here's the hook. No good. Beck rebounds for Kentucky. Beautiful rebound. Gives up to Adrian Smith. Whips to Hatton in front court. Breaks to the right on Powell. Gives back to Smith. Outside to Cox. Top of the circle. Jump shot. No good. Off the left. Mills goes forward and ties up Embry. Now, while we wait for the jump, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
This is WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, 27 minutes before 11 o'clock.
Tap goes to Beck. Out to Hatton, over to Mills, wide open. He lays it in. Don Mills gets his 4th field goal and sends Kentucky in front by 13. Here's Hamilton in front court, down the right side. Now passing deep. In the pivot to Embry. Outside to Powell, breaks right on Hatton, and Hatton blocks the shot. Whistle at the baseline, Hatton pushing. That's the first foul against a Kentucky guard. We've played 4 minutes 50 seconds here at the Coliseum in Lexington. First game won by Notre Dame, 94-87 over Indiana. John Powell 0 for 1, shoots 1. Good for Miami. His 5th point all in this half. It's 57-45 for Kentucky. Vernon Hatton in front court deep, passes left side to Cox, fakes to break, goes into the corner, turns his back on Brown and passes deep to Smith to Hatton. Mills is playing the forward on the right side, gets the bounce pass from Hatton, returns it out to Cox. Here's a 20-foot jump shot. Good. Johnny Cox finds the range with his 6th field goal to match Wayne Embry. And the Cats are in front by 14 at 59-45. It is timeout for the officials. Something is wrong with Jim Hamilton, Miami's little 5'8" guard. Here comes the Miami trainer bouncing off the bench. Something has happened to his ankle. Here's Larry Christ, a late first half substitute coming into the game. 14 minutes, 41 seconds to play. Hamilton apparently has picked up ankle trouble. The Miami team is being waved toward its bench that it's okay to go to the bench. We saw no contact that may have caused an injury. He's nodding his head, Hamilton is, that he's okay, moving into a Miami huddle. It's an official's timeout, so we're ready to go back. Kentucky 59, Miami 45. Kentucky has 4 field goals, Miami 4 field goals in the second half. Miami has outscored Kentucky, though, by 1 point at the free throw line, 2-1. Now Chris down the right side, free throw line deep. Gives to Thomas, set shot short, off the rim to Smith of Kentucky on the bounce. He follows the Miami defense into front court. Gives out deep to Hatton, who breaks to the right on Powell, a screen and a jump shot, good. Vernon Hatton banking in his 4th field goal to send Kentucky into a 61-45 advantage. A break by Thomas, who slips and shoots off balance, no good. Beck rebounds for Kentucky. The Cats running again. Here's Hatton pulling up from 15 feet. The shot in and out. Tapped up by Beck and Mills. No good and out of bounds to Miami. We've played 6 minutes of the second half. 14 to go with 61-45 Kentucky the score. Notre Dame winning over Indiana in the first game. Mills taps away an intended pass for Embry. Up to Cox to Hatton in front court, moving right side to Cox. Off the screen, jump shot no good. Mills taps no good. Out of bounds, Kentucky. Jim Thomas tried to get to it, failed to make it. To the right of the basket over the baseline. Jim Hamilton comes up limping off the Miami bench. The trainer making him walk a bit. Here's Beck handing in to Cox. Looks toward the pivot, gives to Beck. Beck fakes to Cox and hooks short, in and out. Taken off by Miami unopposed. Billy Brown over to Powell. Up in the front court for the Tribe. Breaks into the free throw line. Cuts down the middle against Hamilton. Lays it in. Good. Foul by Vernon Hatton. The goal counts. That's a second foul on Hatton, both coming almost in identical situations. Well, Kentucky shut out John Powell in the first half. He's come back with 7 points so far this half. Coming out of the Miami lineup is 6'3" Jim Thomas, making way for 6'6" Eddie Wingard. That gives Miami a baseline height of 6'6", 6'8", 6'6". 13 and a half minutes to play. Foul of Miami. Shoots one. Good. So Powell makes a three-point trip out of it. Here's a pass to Cox. Wide open. He lays it up no good, but he's fouled by Billy Brown of Miami, and he's got 4. 2 shots to Johnny Cox. Kentucky 61, Miami 48. St. X has defeated Fern Creek over at Louisville tonight. St. X 58, Fern Creek 37 in that 7th regional at Louisville. So Johnny Cox on the Kentucky free throw line will shoot 2. He's a two-handed shooter, good with the first one. Miami making a change. Herb Rowan, R-O-W-A-N, making his first appearance of the game, a 19-year-old sophomore from Williamsburg. Out of the ball game is Bill Brown. Rowan, 6'4", weighs 185. Now Johnny Cox tries free throw number 2 with a 14-point Kentucky lead showing. 13 minutes, 25 seconds to play. It's good. Kentucky 63, Miami 48. Miami came into this NCAA regional, upsetting Pittsburgh in a playoff at Evanston Tuesday night as Notre Dame conquered Tennessee Tech at the OVC. Now here's Rowan at the free throw line for Miami. Out to Powell, 25-footer. Off to the right, no good. Hatton ties up with Rowan and takes it away from him on the rebound. Moves up into front court for the Wildcats. Breaks to the right side. Passes out to Smith. Smith breaks left side. Pumps into the pivot to Mills, who's fouled as he jumps to shoot. Wingard drawing his second foul for Miami. That is the 3rd foul on the Redskins this half. Here's timeout, Miami. Their 3rd timeout. So with the timeout, let's us check over some high school scores. In the 10th regional tonight at Cynthiana, Cynthiana beat North Middletown. Cynthiana 62, North Middletown 55. And in the second game, Paris Western eliminated Maysville. Paris Western 74, Maysville 64. In the 9th regional at Florence, Covington Catholic 75, St. Henry of Erlanger 49. Covington Catholic goes into the finals tomorrow night against Grant. In the 7th at Louisville, St. X 58 and Fern Creek 37. Up in the mountains tonight, Clay County has eliminated Bell County. Clay County 56, Bell County 54, and Hall has eliminated Corbin. That's just the 13th at Middlesboro. Hall 72, Corbin 59. In the 16th, Kansas State has just beat Cincinnati. Kansas State 83, Cincinnati 80. Clark County beat Winchester 68-35 at Moorhead tonight, and Lafayette beat Harrodsburg 60-57 in Lexington. Don Mills of Kentucky shoots and misses in this, his first free throw line appearance. Mills has a second shot coming. And in the 16th at Moorhead tonight, Olive Hill beat Sharpsburg 75-53. Mills hits the second free throw for his 9th point of the game. So the score is 64-48 Kentucky with 13 minutes to go. Powell of Miami gives to Embry in the pivot. Double teamed. He hooks out in the left corner. Rowan shoots. No good. Tapped by Wingard. No good. Don Mills rebounds, and Embry fouled him. Wayne Embry of Miami draws his 3rd foul. Here's that score just in from Moorhead. Olive Hill 75, Sharpsburg 53. Well, one of the real big games tonight is that Kansas State has eliminated Cincinnati. Ed Beck is coming out of the Kentucky lineup, and Phil Johnson, who played in the first half, is in. Kansas State beat Cincinnati 83-80 in overtime. So here's Don Mills at the Kentucky free throw line, missing. Ball tapped back to him. He flips to Vernon Hatton. Hatton down the left side to Mills, gives to Hatton. Passes deep to Phil Johnson, back to Hatton, who brings it back out. Kentucky 64, Miami 48. In the pivot to Cox at the free throw line, hands to Hatton. Breaks to the right, goes to the baseline, loses the ball. Cox picks it up and shoots. No good. Off with the rebound is Wingard of Miami. whips it up the way to Christ. In front court for the Redskins. They trail by 16 points. Here's a hook by Embry, good for Miami. That's his 7th field goal to lead in that department. Miami moves within 14 points. In the 12th regional at Somerset tonight, we'll give you a score after a foul here by John Powell. His 2nd of the game is Miami's 5th. Monticello has beaten Parksville at Somerset, the 12th region. Monticello 70, Parksville 61. Vernon Hatton of Kentucky, 2 for 3, stands on the Wildcat free throw line with 12:07 played. Shot good. Kentucky 65, Miami 50. Each team has scored 15 points in 8 minutes of second half play. Here's Mills intercepting one, intended for Embry. Fired to Cox. Catch running, 3-3, left side. Smith charges in, trying to get to the basket. Adrian Smith draws his first foul of the ball game. So far tonight in the NCAA tournament, Dartmouth, Notre Dame, and Kansas State have won games. Into the Miami lineup is Jim Thomas, the 6'3" junior from Gallipolis, coming into the forward, placing Wingard. 11 minutes, 34 seconds to play. Kentucky had a 15-point edge at halftime. After 8 minutes, 6 seconds, it is still 15. Christ, scoreless, shoots one, no good. Mills of Kentucky rebounds, getting way high in the air. Over to Hatton, high when to Johnson left side. Dangerous pass, he couldn't handle it. And it's taken from Miami by Jim Thomas. Over to Powell, moving back in front court. Breaks out to the top rim of the circle, gives to Christ. On the right side to Rowan, back to Christ. Back to Rowan, moves in on Cox, goes to the baseline, gets under the basket. Passes out to Wayne Embry facing Cox, double team, so he hooks, no good, short. Picking up the rebound is Rowan. Tries to shoot. Whistle at the baseline. He walked. Out of bounds to Kentucky. Some fan picked up the ball and hit the referee in the back of the head. Red Mahalik, the referee down there on the baseline, was signaling the clock to stop since it had gone up into the crowd, and the fan threw it into the back of his head. Big, likable guy, though. Vernon Hatton in front court to Cox. 20-foot jump shot. It's good. Johnny Cox's 7th field goal matches Embry for the field goal lead as Kentucky opens up a 17-point advantage. Here's Walking against Powell as he makes a fake to take off down the middle. So into the last 11 minutes of the game, Kentucky holding a 17-point bulge. We go back to play. Vernon Hatton says something to Adrian Smith, fires to him, waves Phil Johnson off the right side forward. He moves back left, brings Hatton right. Mills comes out. Hatton didn't hang his man on him, though. He gives back out to Cox, flips behind him to Hatton. They're going to try it again. Nope, Cox stays. Pass to Mills and a hook. No, good, over the rim. Thomas takes it for Miami. Whips high in front court to Rowan on the left side against Cox. Pushing, walking, carrying the ball. They say that Rowan lifted the ball and carried it a step and trying to get by Cox. Hatton up in front court, breaks right down the middle and is fouled. This one is on Powell. John Powell draws personal foul number 3. Into the Miami lineup, Jim Hamilton again. So it's good to see the little guy back. He apparently is okay, and Powell checks out. Vernon Hatton, 3 for 4, is on the Kentucky free throw line, shooting 1. Here's Hatton's chance, good. Kentucky 68, Miami 50. Notre Dame beat Indiana in the opener tonight. Notre Dame 94, Indiana 87. Johnny Cox on the left side picks up Hamilton as he flips a two-hand underhand pass out deep to Chris. Down the right side to Thomas, back to Chris, free throw line deep on the side. He gets back to Thomas, 25-foot set. No good, ceiling scraper. Mills takes off the rebound. Fires up to Odie Smith. In front court to Hatton. Balances his court. That time Johnny Cox beat Mills to the pivot. It is Hatton over to Smith. Cox moves off the pivot. Smith moves down the right side. Doesn't get a screen, but shoots anyway short. Mills taps no good. Mills and Embry battling for the ball. Embry rebounds, and Cox knocked it off his hand out of bounds. Miami keeps possession at the baseline in backcourt. 9.5 minutes to go. Kentucky leads by 18 points. Cox goes in against Chris, knocked the ball down. He gives to Embry. A 10-foot hook is no good. Ball knocked down and taken by Thomas, wide open. He lays it in. 4 field goals for Thomas, divided between the two halves. Miami guards picking up again. Hatton picked up by Jim Hamilton, gets over the center stripe against him. Bounce pass down the right side to Mills. He watches Hatton goes through, gives out to Smith. Over to Cox, back to Smith. Outside to Phil Johnson. He breaks left off the top rim of the circle, gives to Johnny Cox. He moves to the right side, whips in there to Don Mills, takes Embry to the right, and a jump shot over him is no good. Johnson taps, no good. Now to the outside, Wayne Embry of Miami moves out and picks it up and flips it almost into the face of Larry Christ. Down the left side, Hamilton from 15 feet misses. Rebounding Phil Johnson of Kentucky, almost took it away from Thomas. Timeout is taken by Kentucky. This is the first Kentucky timeout of the game. Into the Miami lineup comes Bill Brown. Well, let's check over these scores with you again here as we have the timeout opportunity. Kansas State 83, Cincinnati 80. Final score, the result of an overtime. In high school play, the 12th at Somerset, Monticello 70, Parksville 61. The 16th at Moorhead, Olive Hill 75, Sharpsburg 53. Clark County 68, Winchester 35. The 11th here at Lexington, Lafayette 60, Harrodsburg 57. The 13th at Middlesboro, Hall 72, Corbin 59. And Clay County 56, Bell County 54. The 7th at Louisville, St. X 58, Fern Creek 37. The 9th at Florence, Covington Catholic 75, St. Henry Erlanger 49. The 10th region at Cynthiana 62, North Middletown 55. And Paris Western eliminated Maysville tonight. Paris Western 74, Maysville 64. Kansas State, Notre Dame, and Dartmouth have won NCAA games tonight. Dartmouth will play the Maryland Temple winner at Charlotte, North Carolina tomorrow night. Notre Dame will play this Kentucky-Miami winner here tomorrow night. Kansas State will play the winner tonight between Arkansas and Oklahoma State, and we're ready to go back to play now. Powell is also back for Christ in the Miami lineup. Here it is to Don Mills in the pivot. Hook shot, no good. Short, and Embry rebounds for Miami. Loops one out to Christ that knocked down by Adrian Smith and picked up by Hamilton, who lays it in driving. Hamilton's third field goal. And Kentucky's lead is cut to 14 points. Vernon Hatton back in front court, feeds to Mills on the pivot, back to Smith going in, wide open. He got it. Adrian Smith gets his first field goal of the second half to put Kentucky in front by 16 points. There are 8 minutes to play. Hamilton on the left side to Thomas, and the pivot to Embry. Fakes Mills and takes a jump shot, no good, but Mills fouled him. Don Mills drawing his third personal of the game. Adrian Smith apparently has been cut about the eye. Goes to the Kentucky bench, and from trainer Rusty Payne getting some attention. We have 7 minutes 57 seconds of playing time remaining here at the Coliseum. Here are your NCAA scores for the night. Notre Dame 94, Indiana 87 here in Lexington. Down at Charlotte, North Carolina, Dartmouth 79, Manhattan 62. At Lawrence, Kansas, in overtime, Kansas State 83, Cincinnati 80. Those are the only games that have been completed and the only games that will be completed prior to the ending of Kentucky-Miami. So when we leave you tonight, we can tell you at least half of the 8 teams that will be playing tomorrow night for regional titles. Wayne Embry shooting 2. This is his first appearance in the second half on the free throw line. He hit 8 out of 10 in the first half. Here's the first one going through the nets. 70-55. Each team has scored 20 points in this second half. Missed the second one, and Don Mills of Kentucky takes in the rebound. Maryland was trailing Temple by 7 points at halftime. We could have something on that. Here's Cox from 25 feet. Good. Johnny Cox cuts the rope with his 8th field goal and leads in that department as Kentucky takes a 72-55 edge on the Redskins. High pass to Embry, knocked away by Cox. He saved blindly, going out of bounds and hit Hatton beautifully. Almost 3/4 of the way the length of the court out of bounds. In behind the Miami and Kentucky cheerleaders, both on the left side of the court. Here's Hatton breaking on Powell, hooks it back, no good. It came out of the basket with Mills up there tapping for it. Up in the front court now, Hamilton on a 3-2 break behind his back, beautifully to Powell, who lays it in for his 4th field goal of this half. Powell got the field goal, but Hamilton set him up for it, took the defense out of there. 7 minutes to go. Mills in the pivot, comes out with a hook. It's knocked down off his arm and taken by Embry of Miami over to Hamilton. He brings it in front court to the top of the circle, whips left side to Thomas, and a set shot, looks short, hits off the boards and in. Thomas fooled us as he went to the backboards for his 5th field goal. Kentucky 72, Miami 59. High pivot pass to Mills, backs into Embry, falls away with a shot no good, and a foul is called. Embry called for pushing, and that's 4 fouls on Embry. So each team has got a man with 4 personals. Bill Brown and Wayne Embry in the Miami lineup. Ed Beck and John Krigler of Kentucky on the bench. Don Mills on the line for 1 shot. If Mills hits this free throw, it will equal the most points he's ever scored in a college game. He got it. So these 10 points by Don Mills as a substitute tonight have equaled his production against LSU, and with this one, it could be his highest scoring college game. He's only a sophomore, had only 47 points coming in tonight, and got it for his 11th point to send the Cats in front by 15. 74-59. John Powell, who came out with 10 points in this second half so far, after being shut out in the first half, breaks right side with a foul on Vernon Hatton. Hatton's third foul against Powell. This time, though, he fouled Embry. As Embry was out for a screen, Hatton charged into him. Embry on the free throw line, hits. 74-60. Kentucky has a 14-point edge. Miami has outscored Kentucky by 1 point in the second half. And the pivot to Mills, goes in and hooks in and out. Johnny Cox drops it out of bounds on the rebound. Here it is into John Powell of the Redskins. In front court, he whips to Embry on the pivot, breaks to the baseline, and as he jumps to shoot, he's walking with it. Kentucky takes over as we move into the last 6 minutes. It's on the left side to Johnny Cox. Here's the jump shot. Good. Johnny Cox picks up his 9th field goal to send the Cats on top 76-60. Jim Hamilton of Miami, a left-hander, comes over the center stripe. Down the left side to Thomas with a bounce and a return to the left corner. Feeds it to the pivot to Embry. A hook is good and a foul is called. Goal counts. Foul is on Don Mills, and he's got 4 personals. We got 5 men now with 4 personal fouls. Embry's field goal is his 8th. He'll take 1 free throw with a score 76-62. It's good, cutting the Kentucky lead back to 13 points. Into the Miami lineup now comes Bob Miller for the first time. 20-year-old junior from Scotia, New York. Miller 5'11", weighs 155. And Jerry Higgins makes his first appearance. Hamilton and Brown come out. Higgins, a 19-year-old sophomore from Portsmouth, 6'3", weighs 195. Adrian Smith in front court for Kentucky. 5.5 minutes to go as Ed Beck and John Krigler come off the Kentucky bench. Pass out to Cox. Breaks to the right, gives to Mills. Kentucky's guards, Hatton and Smith, have played all the way. Johnson from 20 feet misses. Embry rebounds for Miami. Giving over to the right side to Higgins, breaking in front court. He gives to Powell, breaks to the baseline, and threw it out of bounds. Trying to hit a close tolerance pass in there to Higgins. Miller in backcourt brings it over the center stripe, sets it up out deep, hooks to Mills, back to Smith, wide open, driving. He lays it in. Odie Smith with his 5th field goal sends Kentucky in front 78-63. The teams have scored equally here in the second half. Here's a pass into Embry. It really wasn't intended to him. He cut one down on the way to the basket. Here it is outside to Higgins. Jump shot, no good. Tapped up by Embry, no good, and knocked in by Jim Thomas. Thomas' 4th field goal of the half to cut the Kentucky lead back to 13 points. And here's timeout Kentucky for Coach Adolph Rupp to bring in substitutes, Ed Beck and John Krigler, 2 starters who picked up 4 personal fouls. Krigler got his 4 personals in the first half, and Beck picked up his 4th foul here in this second quarter after second half after less than a minute. 4 minutes and 33 seconds to play. Tomorrow night, we'll be broadcasting the Kentucky game here in this NCAA Regional Finals. Notre Dame will play the winner of this game, and at the moment, Kentucky has a 13-point edge, 78-65. This game tonight started at 9:30. Tomorrow night's game is scheduled to start at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. consolation game tomorrow night will get underway at 7 o'clock, or 30 minutes earlier than did tonight's game between Notre Dame and Indiana. Won by Notre Dame 94-87. Well, one of the tremendous games of this NCAA tournament was played in Lawrence, Kansas tonight. They played an overtime period before Kansas State beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati led 40-39 at halftime. It was tied up 74-all at regulation time. The final score, Kansas State 83, Cincinnati 80. Miami going into a full court press. The Cats using 3 men, and Hatton brings it all the way. Breaks to the right side, turns up and shoots good. Vernon Hatton goes all the way against the press for his 5th field goal and an 80-65 lead. Each team has scored 30 points now in the second half. 4 minutes, 15 seconds to play. Embry into the right corner, gives to Higgins. Outside to Miller, deep to Powell, moving right. 25-foot jump shot, short, goes out of bounds untouched, in behind the goalpost, stopping the clock at 4:04, and Krigler passes into Hatton. Jim Hamilton waiting to get in for the Redskins as Hamilton stands here. The pass is into the pivot to Beck, fakes to Hatton going by, brings it out deep and gives to Cox. Cox passing to Smith now, whips into the pivot to Beck. Smith breaks by, out to Hatton, off the right to Krigler, back out to Hatton. Kentucky slowing down the pace of the game here as it goes over to Krigler, to Hatton, to Cox, top of the circle. He takes the jump shot, short. Powell rebounds for Miami. Got a 2-3 running situation, pulls up outside, not liking those odds. Gives to Miller, who collides with Adrian Smith, the foul charging. Bob Miller of Miami draws his first one. 3 minutes, 28 seconds to play. Into the Kentucky lineup for the first time, Lincoln Collinsworth, a 22-year-old senior from Salyersville, who is 6'3", weighs 190. Johnny Cox comes out for the first time. Cox gets a fine hand. He came within 3:28 of playing a full ball game. Collinsworth has 12 points, an average of 1 per game, ranks 11th in scoring. Big night against Ole Miss when he hit for 3. Smith misses the free throw, Beck taps, and Collinsworth knocks it in. So Collinsworth actually scored less than a second after he came in the game. 82-65, Kentucky leads. Here's Hamilton all the way, got out of shooting position, gives right side, and hitting is Higgins. Jerry Higgins gets his first field goal. 82-67. Miami still sticking with its press. Up in the front court, Smith breaks all the way on Miller, missed it. Tapped up by Collinsworth, no good, taken off by Krigler. Kentucky's got 2 men on the floor with 4 personals, Beck and Krigler. Embry's got 4 for Miami. Brown, who has 4, is on the bench. Here it is into the pivot to Beck. Outside to Smith. Over to Collinsworth. Over to Smith as Collinsworth moves down right side forward. Into the pivot to Beck at the free throw line. He gives off to Collinsworth. The top of the circle, left side to Hatton, who brings it back out to set it up again. In the pivot to Beck. Beck moves to the right, gives to Smith, out deep to Hatton. Hatton yells the play. Bounce pass to Collinsworth, and he's fouled by Higgins of Miami, drawing his first foul of the game. 2 minutes, 21 seconds to go, and while we wait for the free throw, let's us take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, 20 seconds past 11 o'clock.
Collinsworth of Kentucky hits the free throw and draws the bonus shot, and if Abe hits the bonus shot, it will be the best scoring night he's had this season. Mills already had his best night. It's good. Collinsworth picks up 4 points in less than a minute for his best scoring night of the season. Wingard in the Miami lineup, and coming out is Embry. 27 points for Embry as he heads for the bench. Kentucky leads 84-67 over Miami. Here's Thomas on the left side for the Redskins. 25-footers, no good. Off with it is Collinsworth of Kentucky. Abe gets him running. 3-3, cuts down the middle, goes all the way, and got it. Went up and under the press table over the photographers. Collinsworth's second field goal and 6th point. Double the best previous performance he's had this year. 2 minutes to go. Cats lead 86-67. Higgins double dribbles with it as Cassidy and Atkins waits to come in for Kentucky, and Babs for Miami. Now Dick Howe, Bill Smith waiting to come in for Kentucky. Hatton and Smith are the only two cats who have not been out of the lineup. Kentucky leads for the first time by 19 points. Down the right side to Krigler, reverses court on Thomas, can't get in at the baseline. Outside to Collinsworth to Smith. Open court to the left. He gives right side to Hatton. Breaks in, gets wide open, lays it up good. Odie Smith gets his third field goal in each half, and it's 88-67. Kentucky's longest lead. Laying out 21 points here. Here's Hamilton starting to shoot. A whistle from the baseline indicating a foul on Ed Beck. That's all of it. Beck was going to be taken out of the game, and he fouled out with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. He comes out of the game with 6 points, which is better than his 5.5 point per game scoring average. Kentucky takes its third timeout. Beck has 2 field goals, 2 free throws in 3 attempts. Final score tonight in the first game was Notre Dame 94, Indiana 87. 1 minute and 10 seconds to go in this game. We have Bill Smith, a 21-year-old senior from Walton, who is 6'5" and weighs 213. Hasn't scored a point this season. Bill Cassidy, a 22-year-old senior from Inez, who's 6'2", weighs 191. The ninth score with 30 points and a 2.5 point average, 10 against Utah State for his big night. Dick Howe, a 21-year-old junior from Carbondale, Illinois, 6'5", weighs 208. 12th score, has 2 points, .6 average. He got his 2 points against Loyola here in Lexington. Earl Atkins, a 24-year-old senior from Ashland, 6'4", weighs 180. 99 points for a 5.8 average. 6th score, had his big night in Nashville when he hit 25 as a substitute against Vanderbilt. So that is the Kentucky lineup right now. Atkins and Cassidy will play the guards. 2 shots come to Jim Hamilton. He's hit 1 and missed 1. Came in the first half. First shot's good. Kentucky's 3 deep men will be Smith. That's Bill Smith, no relation to Odie. Here's the shot, no good. Collinsworth rebounds for Kentucky. He's the other deep man with Howe. Gives a beautiful pass to Atkins, who has it knocked off and out of bounds on an attempted shot. We're into the last minute of play now. Kentucky leads by 20 points. Off the right side to Higgins of Miami. A fallaway shot is good. Higgins' second field goal makes Kentucky's lead 88-70. Smith to Collinsworth in front court. Collinsworth deep and moving to the right. Looks to Cassidy, then gives to Atkins to the left side. And it goes to Howe on the pivot. Back outside to Collinsworth. 35 seconds to go. As Collinsworth breaks, a foul is called. Higgins of Miami draws his second foul. Coach Adolph Rupp told us today, he said, if I have to change a guard tonight, don't be surprised. It's definitely going to be Abe Collinsworth. He's picked up 6 points here in these last few minutes and was the first guard substitute. Well, actually, he was a forward when he came into the game. Hits the free throw. Gets the bonus shot as Kentucky leads by 19 points. Playing for a chance to get at Notre Dame for the championship tomorrow night. Bonus shot good by Collinsworth to give him 8 points. 3's the most he scored previously. 90-70, Kentucky leads. Break for the basket, Hamilton. Tied up by Earl Atkins with 27 seconds to play. This is an exceedingly long game, just as was the Notre Dame-Indiana game. Here's Atkins' tap going to Collinsworth. He's off running, 4-on-1. And picks it up under the basket and lays it up, no good. Fight for it. Cassidy's got it and lays it in. Cassidy's first field goal, and Kentucky leads 92-70. 13 seconds to go as in front court Larry Crisp breaks left, gets away from Cassidy, missed the shot, and Collinsworth rebounds. 6 seconds to go. Collinsworth gives to Atkins wide open. He lays it in. Earl Atkins' first field goal, and the ball game is over. Well, interestingly enough, the winning teams tonight each scored 94 points. Notre Dame 94-87 and Kentucky 94-70. So it's a Kentucky-Notre Dame game, the first one since 1951 at Memorial Coliseum tomorrow night. We'll have the individual scoring in just a moment. Year after year, Standard Oil gasolines are the largest selling regular and premium gasolines in the areas served by Standard Oil dealers. This continued public preference is due to their dependable all-round performance in every kind of weather, on every kind of road, and to the fact that Standard Oil gasolines are constantly improved to meet changing motor needs. Stop in at the familiar red, white, and blue Standard Oil sign for a tank full of Crown, Crown Extra, or Super Crown Extra. Discover for yourself why they are the South's most popular gasolines. Anytime you fill up with a Standard Oil gasoline, you can be sure of the most dependable and most modern motor fuels the petroleum industry has to offer. Here is the individual scoring. Kentucky was paced tonight in field goals by Johnny Cox, who had 9 and ended up with a total of 23 points, considerably better than his 13-9 average. He had 5 free throws and 23 points. The other scoring for Kentucky tonight, Adrian Smith had 6 field goals, 3 in each half. He had a total of 18 points. On the free throw line, he hit 6 out of 8. For Vernon Hatton tonight, 14 points on 5 field goals and 4 for 5 at the free throw line. Hatton was under his average, and Krigler with 8 points on 4 field goals in the first half was under his average. Abe Collinsworth tonight had his best night of the season. He picked up 8 points on 2 field goals and 4 free throws. His best previous scoring was 3 against Ole Miss. And Don Mills tonight with 11 had his best scoring night. Best previous night against LSU, 10. Mills had 4 field goals, 3 for 5 at the free throw line. Collinsworth not only got 8 points, he set up Atkins for 2 points on a field goal, and he set up Cassidy's 2 points on a field goal. Phil Johnson got his on the last second shot of the first half. Dick Howe was in the game and didn't score, and the same for Bill Smith. For Miami, 8 points go to Jim Hamilton on 3 field goals and 2 for 4 at the free throw line. John Powell, shut out in the first half, came back